Lordaeron is the ancestral home of humanity. Many were risen, now forsaken. Others fell to the Worgen curse. Now it is an insane patchwork of races fighting over the scraps left by the Scourge. That is until the Forsaken war machine conquered half and the Alliance conquered the other half. But the Forsaken are rather broken, and the Alliance's hands are bound by an armistice. Into this vacuum steps the Scarlet Crusade, and not just the ones we dealt with in their heritage quests. In fact, they have a big future in Lordaeron, bigger than anyone may expect. Here's a tease. Scarlet propaganda is rife in Tirisfal and Silverpine. The last few humans are now joined by thousands of refugees able to return to their homeland. And at the core is a radical group called the Scarlet Brotherhood, who not only think they have a claim to Lordaeron, but also have a true Menethil heir in hiding ready to take the throne. Gan wants his lands back, yet can't step on the Horde whilst this peace is lasting. But now Lordaeron is full of humans agitating for the Alliance's return. Suddenly the Scarlet Crusade is weakening the Alliance's geopolitical rival, but those Scarlets are not to be trusted. Meanwhile, from Northrend comes a blast from the past, because after 15 years stuck in the ice, the Scarlet Onslaught returns. They are setting their sights in Stratholme Harbour. The very docks that Arthas left from in his journey to become the Lich King will welcome home those once mad enough to try and hunt him, now setting their sights on Warcraft's cradle of humanity. The Scarlet Crusade is coming back. How do we know this? Well, primary sources, like Bran and Magni Bronzebeard, who have seen it with their very own eyes, just like you with your very own eyes have seen today's sponsor. Save money, access more content, and be more secure with nordvpn.com/Bellular Gaming. My link gets you 4 months for free on a 2-year plan, and you get a 30-day money-back guarantee. Now, Nord lets you browse the web as if you are anywhere. That lets you do a lot of things. This time, traveling, right? Ticket prices for things like cars. They are optimized based on regional demand and a whole bunch of other things like an airline's home country, national wealth. So if you clear your cookies and you use NordVPN to shop around, you can actually benefit from those regional price differences. Now, as you may be able to guess from the background, I am not in Belfast right now. So, of course, between accessing stuff at home without setting off security, getting the best pricing, Nord's dead handy. They keep you private, stop your ISP from snooping about your data. They've got fantastic threat protection services and really cool new things like MeshNet. The app and the browser extension are all super easy to use, and you can get the best offer, right, which is 4 bonus months for free in a 2-year plan at nordvpn.com/Bellular Gaming, where there's a 30-day money-back guarantee. So, a big thanks to Nord for supporting us for all of this time. With that said, let's go. The Forsaken Heritage Quest brought back one of their arch-enemies, the Scarlet Crusade, led by Commander Forsyth, who we don't have that much information on. Forsaken Commander Belmont believes that he is one of the old guard, with the numbers and the tactics that we've not seen since the glory days of the Crusade. They have an Inquisitor, a Houndmaster, and even a group of Archmagi. Not random mages, no, Archmagi, people who have perfected their craft. They have a network throughout Silverpine. They have training grounds. They took and fortified Fenris Isle. So this is not a desperate group in the edge. They are armed and they are dangerous. So the question stands, is this the dying grasp of the Crusade? Because Belmont says they have been defeated many times in Northrend, in the Plaguelands, but that there's always some old commander or new opportunist ready to take up the Scarlet Banner. But that's not quite it, Belmont. This is not some random resurgence. This is perfectly timed, and it has a vision behind it. Forsyth calls it a new Lordaeron, one that is for the living. That is different to the apocalyptic worldview of the Vanilla Crusade. They don't just want to burn everything down, they also want to build. That shows us that just because, while the Forsaken managed to kill these Scarlets, everything that fed into their creation still exists. Something to note during the Heritage Chain is that the Scarlet Archmagi are keeping portals open for Scarlet reinforcements, clearly showing that those Scarlets are coming from somewhere. They clearly have another stronghold. And this leads to one thing, a renewed Scarlet Crusade. propaganda, and what amounts to eviction notices for the Forsaken. It's what we see, and it's the same game played by a secretive group called the Scarlet Brotherhood. They did this during the Fourth War. The Brotherhood is not in Fenris Isle, and the subject matter of their propaganda was not even touched upon during this quest chain, meaning that the Chekhov's gun of the true Menethil heir is currently left unfired. It's sitting on the mantelpiece, ready to be relevant in the plot once more. This is also especially relevant now that Calia Menethil sits on the Desolate Council. So with that said, let's dive into the propaganda. The Forsaken haven't been this weak since they were first created. Without the Banshee Queen's brutality and leadership, their war machine fell apart. Without an unleashed apothecary society, they don't have the new plague as a force multiplier. Until recently, they didn't even have their capital city. Their current truce with the Alliance is of course fantastic, and will help them to rebuild, but not all threats are controlled by the Alliance. The Scarlet Crusade on Fenris Isle did not randomly show up. It was perfectly timed then to take advantage of the Forsaken situation. It's also been building for far longer than anyone suspected. And our first sign of this was the propaganda of the Scarlet Brotherhood. A quick reminder then, there are 4 Scarlet Brotherhood pamphlets. These were found during Battle for Azeroth, but very much were not commented on by and large by the community. In one called The Traitor King, the Scarlets think that Anduin is selling humanity out, right, to the undead, and this is because he agreed to the gathering in Erithai Highlands, which is one of the events that led straight into the Battle for Azeroth, and also was the first major appearance of the Desolate Council in the lore. They brokered a meeting, right, reuniting living and dead families, one that went sour and led to Calia Menethil's death. So, the Brotherhood do not support Anduin, which is kind of handy because Anduin isn't about. If not Anduin, who? Per the propaganda, Genn Greymane. It may sound strange for his many flaws and the fact that he is a Worgen, but looking past that, the Scarlets understand that he hates the Forsaken. Sylvanas killed his son, his heir. So, he's a great king, at least until the undead are sorted out and the Brotherhood can turn their blades on him. Either by tacitly joining them or merely being useful to their cause, Alliance players may find themselves accidentally playing right into the Brotherhood's hands. And the more humans that arrive in Lordaeron, the more that will be convinced over to their side. At its spiciest, Alliance players could even step out of the Armistice and work with the Brotherhood to reclaim Gilneas. Some may even want to join them. You could imagine a Scarlet Renown track, but I highly doubt Blizzard would ever do such a thing. You know, something about players joining that sort of organization, you know what I mean? Pretty understandable. Onward to the next pamphlet then, it's called The Would-Be Queen. Here they say Calia was meant to rule as queen one day, but that hope was taken by a dark conspiracy that Anduin conspired with Sylvanas to murder Calia and raise her as a light-bound undead. The line goes like this: the traitor Rin seduced the Banshee into staging a fake massacre to lure out the good-hearted Princess Calia. Then the traitor king had our princess murdered. This is obviously nonsense propaganda, but, you know, you could call this alternative facts. So you may ask then for this Brotherhood, if Calia is not fit to rule because she's an undead, and Genn is only a short-term solution, what do they propose? And that is where we get to their last bit of propaganda. Before the Third War, Calia married a nobleman of the Erithai bloodline in secret. That bloodline is important because it goes back to the first human kings of Strom, back to the earliest lineage, something to legitimize this child. In fact, Arthas was so prideful, he demanded the whole thing be kept secret. Somehow, the Brotherhood have got this child and have been keeping him safe. So, here's the thing. One bit's true, Calia did have a child before the Third War, but it was not with a noble, it was with an unknown Lordaeron footman. What's going to happen then? Well, a new crusade, led by a young, radicalized, self-sure man who believes he is heir to the Menethil throne. So, yes, I think you can see, with all this going on, yeah, Commander Forsyth and his lads have been defeated, but he was merely Commander Forsyth. Here are some titles of true Scarlet leaders: High Lord, High Commander; High General, Grand Crusader. So yes, Commander Forsyth is not exactly that high up the totem pole, is he? No, there are others. And I actually know where at least some of them are. Exploring Azeroth Northrend is a book that has one entry on the Scarlet Onslaught, and this is a book that chronicles the adventures of Bran and Magni Bronzebeard. Releasing in 2022, this is a modern lore book, and within, the brothers noted that there were still enough Crusaders to cause trouble, and that these Crusaders were actually really active at their ports. They were seen filling ships with supplies. Why would you put supplies in a ship? Obviously, because you want to sail that ship. Where would they sail? Quite obviously, home. And thinking about it, they sailed from Tyr's Hand to Northrend, but coming back, where would they land? Because Arcarus is still over Tyr's Hand. A tantalizing option then is Stratholme. These famous dockyards are where Alliance ships were built during the Second War, where Arthas sailed north after the Lich King demanded he return to Northrend and take up the helm of domination. It's also a city with Scarlet history at its very core. It's where Saiden Dathrahan, founder of the Crusade, was killed and possessed by the Dreadlord Balnazar, which really was the moment where the whole Crusade just tipped over the edge into sheer insanity. We also know from exploring Azeroth Eastern Kingdoms that the Argent Crusade have actually made several unsuccessful attempts to claim Stratholme. Somehow, it is still full of fire, death, and scourge that pose a threat. I think you can see one of the most awesome things imaginable in Warcraft, a three-way fight between the Argents, the Scourge, and the Scarlets. That would be amazing. That would be Warcraft. Talking about Dreadlords then, the Scarlet Onslaught were the most infiltrated sect. Balnazar, of course, possessed Saiden, which led to the Crusade, but shortly before Wrath of the Lich King, another one of their leaders, Bridget, she was like another founding member, right? She had a vision from the light that basically said, bring the fight to Arthas, and that's what began the Scarlet Onslaught. Then, when in Northrend, she got another vision saying a stranger would arrive and that they should trust that stranger, and that is when Admiral Baron Westwind showed up. Nobody questioned it when he convinced the Onslaught to begin using void magic, creating the Order of Raven Priests. Westwind, in fact, was Mal'Ganis the whole time. And we're slowly seeing Dreadlords return to Warcraft, with Lord Banehollow and Lord Helmerath showing up in patch 10.1.5 and 10.1.7. Of course, we've previously talked about Dreadlords working for Sire Denathrius before anyone else, which of course will be true for Mal'Ganis, who personally saved Sire Denathrius in Shadowlands. So, if they still have some grand cosmic scheme to do in Azeroth, perhaps they will come back, and if they do, they could pick up some of their old strings, right? The most fanatical followers of the Scarlet Onslaught. And this is where we reach the edge of speculation. But when you bring all of this together into one thing, I think you'll agree that the Scarlets are not down and out. In fact, they have everything they need to thrive in Lordaeron right now. I mean, whenever the player goes in on that Heritage Armor quest, those are strong, elite NPCs. It's only really because Lillian Voss is there that, like, we're able to clear through all of that stuff. We know that they were summoning reinforcements through these portals from somewhere, and we know that one of their most dangerous sects is still active and has been loading their boats preparing to sail. All we need then is for Blizzard to turn their attention back to what made World of Warcraft what it was, and that is the old world. Ultimately then, the final quest of the Forsaken Heritage is called Death to the Living. The objective is to rout the Scarlet Crusade. Rout, that means to make them flee, run away. Very much does mean that they are definitely still out there. To me, that is really exciting, and if you want to learn where all of this comes from, you've got to check out our video, War in the Plaguelands. It's currently up on early access for our members and patrons. It will be out shortly, because it is one of the most epic stories in all of Warcraft, and it happened between Warcraft 3 and World of Warcraft. That's it from me. Have a wonderful day. Thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you next time.